Happy September, everyone. Before we go into the new month of September, kind of stop and rank all 10 new releases that I saw in the month of August. Welcome back to a brand new movie ranking video here, our usual monthly ranking videos here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Sinderberg. If you're new to the channel, I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, movie rankings, this type of monthly ranking every single month for all the new releases, and a box office breakdown show every single Monday. So please subscribe, ring the bell. If you're new to the channel, like the video, guys, the thumbs up button right down below. Please click that if you're just tuning in. Really helps more than you think. And also, please comment down below, what new releases did you see in the month of August? Do you disagree with my list? Agree with my list and give me your ranking. I know I didn't see every single thing. So if there's something that I missed, let me know as well in the comment section if I should see it, not see it. That's always a fun discussion with everyone putting their rankings in the comments section. So also, before I start, I've already done single reviews around 10 minutes long each for each of the films on this list. So if you want a full breakdown of the movie in a non-spoiler way, at the end of the video, a playlist will pop up right next to me. It'll have all my movie reviews, but also I'll have these 10 movies here on the channel, very recent. So if you want my full take on these movies, you can go there. I'm going to go very brief because this is a 10 movie list. So without further ado, let's get into it. So starting at number 10 this month for me was They Slash Them. This is a Peacock original horror film that I just absolutely really hated from start to finish. Now, the actual plot is actually kind of interesting. It's all of these people in the LGBTQ community. They go to this camp run by Kevin Bacon. And the whole point of the camp is either they're there, they want to do this or not to do this, but their parents are forcing them to be there, is to switch them to being either straight or their original gender. And Kevin Bacon's kind of the villain of the movie who kind of acts like, I don't really want to mess with you guys. And then you learn some villainous things. I think this movie had the potential to be one of the more fresh horror films of the year. But because they didn't want to stick to the actual horror of the movie, really should have just been these people who are transitioning or trans or gay, to the horrors of them trying to be forced to be something that they're not. That is really the horror of the story and what it should have been the main focus of the movie. But instead, this movie wants to be at times a slasher 80s film, some really bad dialogue. The kills aren't also not very good. Every time there's about to be a kill, the movie will cut away. So even when the movie wants to be a slasher film, we don't get to see the slashing going on. So I feel like this movie has too many things. It feels like they wanted to make a slasher film. It seems like NBC or Universal had these two different plot lines going on for two separate movies, and they said, how about let's just do that as the same movie? So They Slash Them was very underwhelming. Good performances, and it was nice to see Kevin Bacon back in this genre. And I guess okay messaging, but the horror of the story should have been what these people, these kids really are going through. But instead, it wants to be a slasher Halloween type film, which is just, it's not what it was. So from Peacock, we go to Netflix at number 9, the movie I've seen the most recently, the month of August, and that is Me Time on Netflix, the comedy, as they say, starring Kevin Hart and Mark Wahlberg. I just didn't have a fun time watching this movie. I really like both these actors. Especially Wahlberg, who you've seen do some better stuff, not just serious stuff, but in the comedy genre. But it just feels like another throwaway, even less so, a really bad Kevin Hart movie, as he really takes center focus. If you're not familiar with the films about Kevin Hart, he's a stay-at-home dad with his wife, Regina Hall. And Regina Hall is kind of a business person, and so they kind of flip the stereotypes, as they say. And Kevin Hart's a stay-at-home dad, and Regina Hall goes out and works. And Regina Hall wants a week with just the kids, she's not familiar. And Kevin Hart goes back with his best friend, who's played by Mark Wahlberg, who throws all these eccentric parties for his birthday. And while Wahlberg at times was kind of funny, the movie is just not very funny. There's probably the worst usage of CGI that I've seen in a movie all year long. While you buy Hart and Wahlberg as these friends, the movie goes a bit too overboard, and the comedy just does not work. I think the film stick to its cartoonist nature. It would have been a lot stronger. The film also kind of feels like it wants to be a family film, even though it's a rated R with people cursing every scene. So I think the movie tonally has no idea what it wants to be. If it wants to be a rated R edgy film or a PG kids film. I think if the movie tried to focus on one of those, it would have worked. But because they didn't try to incorporate both, it feels like a mess. So Me Time comes in number 9. Another movie, the most recent movie I saw in theaters, which was #1 this past weekend for a very underwhelming, historically, August box office, and that was The Invitation. What a really underwhelming, how to say this, Ready or Not ripoff. If you, I mean, Ready or Not kind of did this movie to a T, and The Invitation, except adding a different element that a lot of people on reviews are sadly spoiling. I will not spoil it to you. But Natalie Emmanuel is a terrific lead. She needs more lead work outside of the Game of Thrones, Fast and Furious franchise role. She needs to do more, and it's good to see her in a lead role. But this movie has some really bad dialogue, and a very predictable story that really the marketing of this movie absolutely spoiled. Even if you haven't seen the marketing, you can kind of tell where the story is going, and this movie needed to be rated R. There's a lot of horror and a lot of kills going on, and while there's a lot of just usual music goes off, you know there's a jump scare about to happen, there's a lot of kills, and all of the kills you don't get to see. And you're walking into this type of movie, you at least want to see some of these kills happen, and most of the really cool ones that could have been cool ones we're just cutting away, or we're going to black and hearing the character scream. A very underwhelming movie that I wasn't bored by, but this is just not a good movie and a very much a ripoff of what Ready or Not did to a T. Coming in #7, another in theaters release, and that is Beast. Now, this movie is getting a lot of more positive praise than I actually thought when I saw the movie for the very first time in opening on Thursday night. This movie was just not for me. I know a lot of people want a dumb hour 40 Idris Elba versus the Lion movie, but for me, it was a bit too stupid. I didn't love the CGI with the lion. I know it's getting a lot of praise. At times towards the really end of the movie, the lion just didn't feel real. I liked Charlton Copley. I love Idris Elba. I did think sadly they made Idris Elba's kids a little bit too stupid and annoying. And I hate, because I think the actors who play his kids are actually quite good, but they make kind of just bonehead, stupid decisions that gets the plot moving even more. So that was a bit of a waste of time. I just didn't have as much fun as I thought. I enjoyed watching Idris Elba go up against a lion, but the whole movie is just too, I guess, basic. I'm not saying simple. The movie's simple, but I just didn't enjoy myself. The whole point was to be a dumb, stupid movie with Idris Elba against a lion. And for me, I just never really got into this movie. I don't think it's awful. It's not one of the worst movies of the year, but it just was not for me. Coming in #6 is an Amazon Prime movie, Samaritan. I was expecting so much more. This is one of the most frustrating movies of the entire year for me, because the fact that it's a fresh superhero film that's not a comic book, it's not Marvel or DC, with Sylvester Stallone. You sold me, and I wish there were more studios that kind of have the guts to make fresh, original superheroes that are not tied to a comic book. And while the action, especially towards the end of the movie, finally comes, and Sylvester Stallone is clearly giving it his all, both on screen and behind the screen as a producer, this movie was very underwhelming. Stallone doesn't really have anything to do for the first 2 acts of this movie. It's a very stupid movie. The villain, who gets a lot of screen time, is not very interesting. He's kind of the by-the-book stereotypical villain that you'll see in a superhero film, but has just no background. And there just isn't any, this movie is just very surface level. The movie has some interesting ideas, and the world building is what keeps me interested, but the movie just never takes that next step to explore something. Sometimes it feels like it's going to be a pilot episode of a series, but this is a full movie. And the movie, I think it should have been just a grounded Stallone movie with this character. Maybe the kid can be involved, the kid who plays Ashtray in Euphoria. But because they want to focus this from a kid's point of view, and Stallone's just kind of sitting around doing nothing for the first hour of the movie, it's just kind of disappointing. There's also some CGI in a burning building that is, again, very much up there as one of the most not believable action sequences I've seen all year long. So I actually did like Stallone in the movie. The cast was good, and the world building was quite excellent. I just could not get into the story, and the movie was way too generic and surface level. At #5 for me, which is the last, I guess, average to below average review in my list, which is half this list, sadly, so a bit of a rough month, as it usually is. Day Shift, we're going to Netflix. This was a pretty forgettable Netflix film to me. I don't think it did anything majorly wrong, but I don't think it did anything great either. It's a vampire type action film. Jamie Foxx plays this guy who's needs money for his family with his ex-wife Megan Good and their son, and he hunts vampires for money. That's when he kind of loans along with Dave Franco, who's not very used to this, and they have to team up. And Snoop Dogg's in the film. It's an easy to watch but very forgettable Netflix film. A week later, I just completely forgot that I watched this movie. Jamie Foxx was very good in it. Dave Franco, who I just want to see more getting roles in Hollywood. He's such an underrated comedic presence in movies. Cool to see Snoop Dogg act. He was probably the best part of the movie, honestly. Kind of a waste of Megan Good, who's much better than this. And Natasha Liu Bardoza also has some to do, but not really towards the third act of the movie. This is some of the worst villain work that I've seen in a movie all year long. And not the part of the actor's fault, but one of the most generic villains you'll see in a movie all year long. And you just never feel like anyone's in danger. And while it's a dumb vampire action film, it's just too forgettable for me to give it a positive review. Let's get into the other 5 movies that is 6 movies that I give an average to below average. Let's go a bit of above average for me, just a smidge above average. And that is Luck. Now, this movie is getting absolutely crapped on social media. This comes from John Lasseter, who had a lot of sexual assault misconduct allegations from Disney. That's why he left Pixar. He's the creator, really, of Pixar, Toy Story, those type of movies in the early days. His first film, starting Skydance Animation. This film's on Apple TV Plus. I felt like it was a charming enough animated film. I don't think this breaks any ground. You can tell it's trying to have that Pixar feel to it, but just does not have nowhere near the emotion level that the Pixar films have. But I just didn't hate this movie. I think a lot of people are hating the movie, as you definitely could if you're just not a fan of John Lasseter, you don't want to support anything he does. I'm just looking at the movie itself. I thought that the Sam Bob relationship, Bob's the cat is voiced by Simon Pegg, and the adult is voiced by Eva Noblezada. I thought they had really good chemistry. I thought Simon Pegg was very entertaining. I saw Jerry, plays by Colin O'Donoghue, was a lot of fun. And I thought the animation was not great, but it was definitely different from the used to seeing. But I do feel like this movie definitely was missing that emotional spark plug that most Pixar films have. That this movie you can feel desperately need a jolt of. And it's a very predictable animated film. You know exactly what the message is going to be when the movie starts. You know how really the movie's going to end once you go to this land of the luck. So it's a fine movie. I know a lot of people are hating this. I liked it more, I guess, than most people. Not saying I liked the movie. I just thought it was okay. It's on Apple TV Plus. Coming in third place this month is something I'm very disappointed with, which was Bullet Train. I see this is a pretty, again, very divisive movie, and I'm kind of split down the middle. I think this movie is okay. I wanted so much more out of Bullet Train. It's first of all, the cast is what makes the action and the cast for the most part are really amazing. Brad Pitt does a great job in the lead role. He's very fun. I thought Aaron Taylor Johnson kind of stole the entire movie, and his brotherhood with Brian Tyree Henry was very interesting. Bad Bunny was very good in a small role. Michael Shannon was good in a small role. And I thought that the action itself was very good and different from what's out there. But for me, the story I never really got hooked in to the story of this movie. It's also like well over it's well over 2 hours. And it's just over 2 hours, and it's 2 hours and 7 minutes, and you can feel it. The movie drags a lot for being pretty much we're on the train the entire movie. Deaths happen, and I just never cared about the death. I think the story is the biggest misprint because the movie wants to be on the train the whole time. In order to actually care about who these people are, the movie has like 5 flashback scenes, and it gets way too repetitive. So while I had a fun enough time. I did not love Bullet Train. I don't think it's a bad movie, but I think I just had an okay time in the theater, and I wanted so much more out of Bullet Train. It's definitely the most disappointing movie on this list, even though it's at number 3 out of 10 movies. Now let's get to the good to great stuff. Number 2 for me this month was Prey, the big new Predator franchise film for Hulu. I thought it was by far and away the best sequel since the best Predator film since the original Predator. It's a very simplistic film. You care about the lead character. The action is very good. The Predator looks threatening, feels like a real threat to our main hero, and it feels untouchable throughout the entire film. There was like a bit of a CGI, again, another animal CGI bear fight that I just did not think was very good. And I don't think the movie got as deep as I kind of wanted it to be. But for a Predator film, I just had an absolute, really as a film itself, it was a lot of fun. It was one of the easiest hour 40s I've had watching a movie all year long. The action was very good. The cast was very good. What a great lead performance. The action itself was really fun, and the simplicity. Going back to the original movie is what this franchise desperately needs. So I had a really good time of Prey. I thought it's one of the better action films of the year. It's a 4 out of 5 star for me. But number one, a movie that just sadly no one really seemed to see in theaters. And for people who did, it's a very divisive movie, but it's in my top 5 of the year, which I guess is pretty controversial. But I loved Bodies, 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 which was an A24 film that was only in the top 10 at the box office for 2 weekends. One of the freshest films and original films that I have seen all year long. I think it's been mismarketed, and even the people who like the movie are just not describing it in the right way. This is not a stereotypical kids slasher movie. It's really a satirical whodunit that I found was very interesting. I felt it was really compelled by really all of the characters in the movie. All of them felt like suspects to me, which in a whodunit is really good to have when you feel like any of our main characters could be the killer. The performances were amazing. I thought like Amandla Stenberg is just destined to be a star in Hollywood. I think she's a really great lead actress. Maria Bakalova now trying to go beyond the Borat too. She was very good. Rachel Sennett, Chase Sue Wonders, Mahala Harold. All of them were really good, especially as well Pete Davidson as a very funny character in the movie, and Lee Pace. I thought the whole cast was good. It's very intimate. The whodunit really got me. And I know sometimes this is a very much a Gen Z satirical film. All these characters are kind of the extreme version of what people like to call the Gen Z. I know some people might think that these are just plain on annoying characters, but someone I guess who counts as being a part of this generation, it is very satirical, but I think it shows a lot of the positives that the Gen Z brings and a lot of also the negatives. And I think it does in a very funny way. You care about the characters, and you really just don't know who done it. I thought the ending, my theater lost it with the ending in a very good way. So did I. I really couldn't stop thinking about this movie. I know a lot of people are not loving this movie or think it's good, not great, or some people just don't like it. Not enough people saw this movie in the theaters, in my opinion. This is one of my favorite movies of the entire year. So once it gets on digital, please go watch Bias, Bias, Bias. I really love the movie. And I wish I could talk to that with more people, but just no one sadly saw it in theaters, which is a huge disappointment for me. So Bias, 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 though, is not a disappointing movie because it's my favorite movie of the month of August, and it's in my top 5 movies of the year. So that's my 10 movie ranking of the month of August. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to the bell, like the video, comment your ranking. Do you agree with me? If you've seen Bodies, Bias, Bias, let me know what are your thoughts on this movie. More videos are coming tomorrow. You'll have my spoiler review of episode 3 of She-Hulk. There's no and then I'm probably going to watch that new Regina Hall, Sterling K. Brown film this weekend on Peacock. That will be a review maybe Monday on Labor Day when I'm really free. So I'll probably watch that Monday, review it on Monday for you guys. And a box office breakdown show will also be back on Monday. So please subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys.